Hi everyone, this is Alva from Workforce Computer Training. In this video, we are creating pivot tables. It is by far the best way to organize large data sets for a visually effective reporting and the fastest method for data analysis. Here's our data set. So the first thing I like to do is to select all of it and then give it a name. And this way I can reference that name in the pivot tables instead of having to come back and select the range each time. To select the entire data set, I click inside the data set first, and then I use the Control and the A button, Control A for all. It selects the entire region. And now I come up to the name box on the upper left, right adjacent to the formula bar. I click in there and I give it a name. And I'm going to name it data and enter. You always have to register with an enter. When you're naming a range, just keep in mind it doesn't like spaces and it should never start with a number. Now that I've named my data set, I can easily use that word data to pull into each of the reports we're building. All right, let's build our first one. Click on Insert and click on Pivot Table. As you can see here, it recognized the data starts in A1 and ends on J2156. We could easily just overwrite this with the word data because that's what the range is called. But for the first one, we just leave it alone. It's for the subsequent reports that we're going to call in data into our reports. Next, we want to make sure that we put in a new worksheet so we don't clutter this one here where all the data is. For our reporting, we are not using data modeling, so we are deselecting add this data to the data model so that we can have full functionality in the pivot table tools. Click OK, and now we're building our first report. Before selecting the fields you want in your report, you have to ask the question, what am I reporting? So in our case, we want to know how much we've earned per country per month. And eyeballing our sheet very quickly here, as you can see, all the sales were done by individual dates, but we can still group all of these dates by month. So now we select the fields that will give us the report we want. First, we said by country, so I'm selecting country. We have to select one of the date fields. We're selecting order date. We count our revenue when the orders get placed. And third is the revenue we produce on the sales, which is extended price. So now we have all of the countries separated out with all the sales that were done in each of the months. However, it's per date. So to group it by month, we click inside one of the date fields. And as you notice, we have two new tabs, Analyze and Design, that belongs to the pivot table tools. We click on Analyze, and in a group here that's called Group, there's a group field. We click on that one, and we can group all our dates by either years, quarters, months, or a combination of these. However, for us, we only want months, and we click OK, and now we have our dates grouped by month. However, this report is not friendly at all for us to have to go all the way down to look at USA, and it's just not a friendly report at all. So we need to organize our data better. To do that, we go over to the field builder here on the right, and we're going to hover over the order date under the rows block, and we're going to drag it out into columns. And as you can see, everything's organized very nicely here by months. Now we can see how much we've earned per country per month. And it answers everything we need, how much we've earned as a total for each country, or as a total as a parent company with all the countries involved. It's $7.8 million. Let's clean this up a little bit. For the sum of extended price, I'm going to type revenue. For the row labels, I'm going to override that with country. Column labels are month. I'm clicking on any of the values, and I'm going to make sure that it looks like dollars. So I am going over to the Analyze tab. On the left, there's a Field Settings. I click on that one. And there's a number format on the lower left of this dialog box. You click on it. And I am going to select accounting versus currency because I want the dollar sign to sit on the left margin of each cell. Click OK and click OK again. So now this report has answered our question on how much we've earning per country per month. So now we move on to our second report. For that one, I'm going to click on a new sheet. Again, we click on Insert and Pivot Table. This time, we are typing in the name of the data set that we are using, which is called data. And we want it exactly where our selector is, and we don't want to add this to the data model. Click OK, and here we are for the next report. In this report, we would like to know as a parent company how much we've earned per month. So for that, we're clicking on Order Date and Extended Price. So now we need to organize our individual dates by month. So we go to the Analyze tab and click on Group Field, and it already defaults to months. We click OK. We are going to change our values to currency. So click on any value and go to Field Settings from the Analyze tab and choose Number Format and click Accounting. We change the labels on each of the columns. So the report is answering how much we made per month as a parent company. Now we need to do the breakdown of the revenue in percentage. So how much was it per month in percentage that contributed to the 100% of the money we earned as a whole? So $7.8 million was 100% of the money. What is the breakdown per month? To do that, we come over to the field list and we are going to have to recycle our extended price because there's no other field that represents the revenue. So we drag it down underneath revenue on the values area. And now we have it twice. So on the second set, we click there and we go back into Analyze. And in the field settings, this time we click on Show Values As. And where it says No Calculation, we bring that drop down arrow. And we select the percent of grand totals, the second one down. We click OK, and there you have it. There's your breakdown. For our next report, we are going to keep our selector adjacent to this report here, so we don't have to create one worksheet per report. And we go back to Insert, Pivot Table, calling it Data again. And we don't want to add this to Data Model. In this report, we want to answer, how do we do month to month? So we are now selecting the fields we need for that. So we are selecting Order Date and the Extended Price again. So we are changing the sum of extended price for it to reflect the percentage of growth or loss month to month. For that, we select Analyze, go back to Field Settings, Show Values As, but this time we go on the drop-down arrow, come all the way down and choose Percent Difference From. On the base item on the right pane, we need to select how we want to make a comparison. So we're not going to build this out for each month. We're going to let it go to the previous month to make a comparison of the current month. So we are choosing Previous, click OK, and there you have it. We don't need to have a grand total, so we go out to Design tab, Grand Total, off for rows and columns. And we fix our labels, and we have our third report. On this last report, we want to pay commission, but only to those months that were over $600,000. So for that, we're going to do an if statement, but we'll have to create our commissions field because it does not exist. We are going to start by selecting the order date because we're doing it by month. And now we can close the field list. We're not going to need it again for this. Now we're building out the if statement, so we have to create that field. So next, we go to Analyze, click on Fields, Items, and Sets. And this time we're using a calculated field. Click there And a calculated field is when you need to create a field that does not exist in your original data set. Every field name that you create has to have its own name. So I am naming it commission. Now we need to write an if statement so that it only pays commission for those months that were greater than 600,000. So we start with the if statement, equal if, select the field extended price from the list and choose the insert field. So we need those single quotes. If you just type in extended price, you get an error. So we're looking at extended price that's greater than 600,000. So make sure you put enough zeros. If the extended price is over 600,000 for any month, then, comma, give them the extended price again, put that insert field, times decimal 1. So the asterisk for the times for multiplication and dot 1, decimal 1. So it's 10% of the extended price if it's greater than 600,000. Comma for or else, nothing. You give them 0. And now you click on the add button and this new field has been added to your field list. So now we have our commission for those months that were greater than $600,000. However, our grand total is incorrect. This is calculating 10% of the grand total as a whole of all the revenue, as you can see here. In order to get the right grand total of commission, we need to hide the zeros. That is the workaround. So we are going to turn off the months that have 0 commission. So May through September and November. Click on the drop-down arrow where the months are and deselect May through September and November. Click OK, and now we have the right total. So the last thing is, if we need to name this column commission, as I will, I'm going to go to the formula bar and just get rid of sum of. As I click enter, it's going to give me an error message. This error message, pivot table field name already exists, is because you can't have a field name and a title the same. So all I have to do is go right after the N in commission here and put a space right behind it and enter, and it'll accept the word commission. In our next video, we are creating a dashboard of pivot charts with slicers and a timeline based on these reports.